They say the road knows no secrets, only those who travel it. But on the Benin-Ore Expressway, late one afternoon, the road revealed something far worse than secrets. It revealed a trap. The stretch between Benin City and Ore is not just asphalt, it is survival. It carries traders heading west with goods that feed families, students returning to campus with hopes stitched into enrollment forms, drivers racing nightfall because darkness on that road is not just absence of light, it is invitation to danger. That afternoon, traffic slowed, not because of congestion, not because of a checkpoint, but because something had been placed across the road, a fallen branch, large enough to force hesitation, small enough to look accidental. And in that hesitation, everything changed. From the bush, silent just moments before, figures emerged, calm, coordinated, armed. Doors were flung open, passengers ordered down. Some froze, some cried, others ran blindly into the chaos, colliding with vehicles reversing in panic. Within minutes, the expressway became a standstill of stalled engines and whispered prayers. Lives were trapped, time was running out, and help felt impossibly far away. But here is what the attackers did not know. They were being watched. 14 people were pulled from that scene alive. 14 passengers who thought their journey had ended in the worst way possible, rescued before the worst could happen. But 3 people did not come back. If this story shocks you, if it unsettles you, if you've ever planned a trip on a road like this and felt that quiet fear creeping in, then you need to stay informed. Subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and drop a comment telling us, have you ever traveled a route that felt too quiet? Because this story is not over, and what happens next will change how you see every journey from now on. The rescue made headlines, but the questions? Those are just beginning.
Let's be clear about something. This was not just a crime. This was a disruption of movement. And in Nigeria, movement is survival. The Benin-Ore Expressway is not optional for millions of people. It connects the south-south to the southwest. It carries students to universities in Ondo and Ekiti. It moves traders bringing goods from Port Harcourt and Warri to Lagos markets. It carries families traveling for weddings, burials, medical emergencies, journeys that cannot wait, cannot be rescheduled, cannot be avoided. When that road becomes unsafe, it does not just affect the people who were there that day. It sends shockwaves through entire communities. Imagine planning a trip tomorrow. You've packed your bags, you've said your goodbyes. But now, in the back of your mind, there is a question. What if today is the day? That fear is not dramatic, it is lived reality. After incidents like this, behavior changes. Drivers delay travel. Some move in convoys, waiting for others so they are not alone. Transport fares quietly increase because fear has a price. And the routes people once took without thinking twice now require mental preparation. But here is the frustration Nigerians are too familiar with. Presence does not equal protection. Checkpoints exist, security personnel are visible, patrols pass through, yet somehow danger thrives in the spaces between. The road feels watched until it doesn't, and when the silence breaks, it is already too late for someone. So the question people are asking is not whether response teams are capable. Clearly they are. 14 lives were saved because coordination worked. The question is, why does the threat keep regenerating? Why does one operation succeed, yet another incident surfaces nearby? Why do attackers return to the same corridor as if they know something authorities do not? Why does visibility exist without deterrence? These are not conspiracy theories. These are observations from people who use that road every week. Observations from families who have lost time, money, and peace of mind trying to navigate a route that should not require this much courage. And the unsettling truth? For 3 families, time is not moving at all. Because while 14 were rescued, 3 are still missing.
Let's go back to what is known. Not speculation, not rumor, just the sequence of events as they unfolded. Before the incident, earlier that day, intelligence officers in Benin City received reports. Nothing definitive, just patterns, unfamiliar motorcycles disappearing into the bush, locals going quiet when asked about movement near certain stretches, the kind of silence that speaks louder than words. It was not enough to shut down the road, not enough to sound alarms, but it was enough to position operatives nearby, quietly, without spectacle. During the incident, by late afternoon, traffic on the expressway tightened near a stretch locals had long warned about. Two commercial buses slowed almost to a stop. Ahead, a fallen branch lay across the road, not blocking it completely, just enough to create hesitation. That hesitation became opportunity. From the bush, armed men emerged. Passengers were ordered down. Panic spread faster than sound. Distress calls filtered through. A driver who escaped into the bush, a trader hiding under his truck, others whose voices shook as they tried to explain what was happening. The response was immediate. Patrol units moved in, not with sirens, but with coordination. Backup teams trained for off-road operations slipped into the surrounding vegetation. What followed was not a dramatic shootout. It was tense, calculated movement, commands shouted, positions secured. The attackers, realizing the situation had shifted, retreated deeper into the bush, but not alone. After the operation, 14 passengers were found, some huddled in different locations, some shaken, some injured from falls during the chaos, all alive. They were pulled out one by one, eyes scanning the bush as if expecting it to swallow them again. But 3 people were not accounted for. And here is where the story takes a disturbing turn. As investigators reviewed what had happened, something unsettling emerged. The missing 3 were not random. One was a middle-aged man traveling without luggage. Another was a young woman whose phone had been switched off before the incident even began. The third had boarded earlier than most and had given no surname when asked. This raised questions that could not be ignored. Highway abductions usually follow predictable patterns, random victims, ransom demands, quick escapes, but this felt selective, as if amid the chaos, someone had been chosen. As security teams pushed further into the bush, they found signs that did not match a hurried retreat. Footprints diverged, fresh motorcycle tracks appeared where none had been earlier that day. And in one hidden clearing, evidence suggested the kidnappers had inside knowledge that could not have come from casual observation alone. By dawn, the expressway reopened, vehicles moved again, life resumed. But for 3 families, time stopped, and the question lingering in the air was this: how much did the attackers know before they even stepped onto that road?
This was not the first time. Over recent weeks, similar reports had surfaced along the same corridor. Attempts disrupted, victims recovered, security forces responding swiftly. Each time, the headlines celebrated success. Each time, relief followed. And each time, the same question returned. Why does the threat keep coming back? Let's zoom out for a moment. Roads are linear. Threats are not. You can patrol asphalt, position checkpoints, increase visibility, but if the surrounding terrain remains uncontrolled, you are only protecting the visible part of the problem. And criminals understand this better than anyone. They know where patrols pass. They know when traffic slows. They know which stretches are surrounded by thick bush and which routes lead away from pursuit. This is not guesswork. This is studied behavior. So when an operation succeeds and lives are saved, it proves one thing clearly: coordinated response works. But when incidents repeat in the same area, it suggests something else entirely. Coordination alone is not enough.
Because here is the uncomfortable reality. Partial success is not resolution. Rescuing 14 people is a victory, absolutely. Those are 14 lives that returned home, 14 families who did not have to live with the worst outcome. But 3 people are still missing, and until they are found, until the threat is not just disrupted but dismantled, the cycle will continue. For residents near that corridor, the fear is more personal. Farms lie close to the bush. Children pass those roads daily on their way to school. Traders depend on that route for their livelihood. And every time an incident happens, it is not just strangers in danger. It is neighbors. It is family. The silence from authorities after each rescue feels like a pattern, too. Statements are issued, operations are praised, but the deeper questions are rarely addressed publicly. Why do attackers return to the same locations? How do they move so freely despite increased patrols? What gaps exist that allow this level of confidence? These are not accusations. These are the questions Nigerians are already asking in private conversations, group chats, and transport parks. And here is the question that refuses to go away. How many times can we celebrate rescue and ignore prevention? Because if the answer is as many times as it takes, then we are not solving a problem, we are managing a crisis, and crises do not end, they escalate. The road remains open, vehicles continue to move, but trust? That is harder to restore than asphalt. And until prevention becomes the priority, not just response, the fear along that corridor will never truly disappear.
So where does this leave us? 14 lives saved, 3 still missing, a road that continues to carry millions even as danger lingers in the spaces between visibility and control. This is not a story with a neat conclusion. It is not a story where we can say justice was served or the problem is solved, because the problem is not solved. It is ongoing. For the families of the missing 3, every day without answers is another day frozen in uncertainty. For commuters who depend on that route, every journey now comes with a calculation. Is today safe? Should I wait? Should I travel at all? And for the rest of us watching from a distance, this story is a reminder that safety is not just about responding well, it is about preventing the need to respond in the first place. The rescue operation proved that coordination works, that when intelligence is acted upon swiftly, lives can be saved. That is not in question. What remains in question is whether we are willing to ask and answer the harder questions, the ones about patterns, about predictability, about why certain corridors remain vulnerable despite repeated interventions. If this story matters to you, if you believe Nigerians deserve roads they can travel without fear, then stay informed. Subscribe to this channel. Because stories like this do not end when the cameras leave. They continue in courtrooms, in policy rooms, in the quiet decisions families make about whether to travel tomorrow. And remember this, they say the road knows no secrets, only those who travel it. But perhaps the real secret is not what the road hides, it is what we choose to ignore until the silence breaks again.